Hey guys, this is Mike from My Private Library once again. I know it's been a couple of months since I've updated, but what are you gonna do? I've been insanely busy with work, and yeah, basically just work. I've still been buying comics and regular books at, excuse me, I just haven't had the time to update you guys, and I just wanted to do a quick little video to show you books and comics that I purchased recently. Obviously not everything because it has been since June since I've updated, and I obviously have bought a lot, so I just want to kind of do some recent ones that I've picked up in the last couple weeks and months, before Christmas, because I have kind of slowed down a little on the buying in the past couple months just for budgetary reasons and space reasons. You may not be able to tell, but my shelf is finally full, and I still have 3 or 4 stacks of books that I have to read that have to somehow fit on a shelf somewhere, and that I just do not have space for. So, gotta work on that. And yeah, I just wanted to go over some of the stuff that I've got. So yeah, this first half of the video, I guess, will be comics, and the next half will be regular books. So, welcome back. New year, same me, new camera, new setup, which took me a little while to figure out. I did this video once before and there was no audio because I didn't have the microphone plugged in properly, so take 2. Other than that, I'm really digging this camera. Nice and high def. Nothing too fancy. You get to see my beautiful face, which on high def is actually not that beautiful, so I'm slightly regretting it. But, oh well. So let's get started. This first stack of books, or comics, I got as a gift for Christmas from my friend Alex. She got me some regular books too, but I'll show you those later. This little stack, starting off with Nimona and Lumberjanes Volume 1 and 2, all by Noelle Stevenson. I've heard a lot about Lumberjanes, and I've been wanting to read it for a while. I know they came out with a hardcover, but I believe it's just like a special edition for Volume 1. It'd be cool if they did an oversized hardcover for both volumes, but maybe down the road. I heard it's a really fun series that looks really kiddie, and is kiddie. There's nothing wrong with being kiddie, but it's also really mature. Nimona I've heard a lot of praise for, but I haven't heard anything specific about it, but it looks really cool, so I'm excited to dig into it. And then the other book she got me is the first trade of Bob's Burgers comic, which, I mean, I'm a huge fan of the show, so I'm really looking forward to reading this. I'm assuming it's hilarious. We love to joke that my family is like the basis for Bob's Burgers, except instead of a burger joint, it's a pizzeria, so yeah, I feel that series on an emotional level, and I'm really excited to read it. I absolutely love the show. Okay, next up, sort of a blind buy for me, Devil Dinosaur by Jack Kirby. This is the complete collection trade paperback. It is available as an omnibus. I believe it's one of the first Marvel omnibuses out there, but cover price for the omnibus, I think it's $30, and nowadays copies go for like $90, $100, so either spend $30 on an omnibus or $25 on a paperback. Up to you. I basically picked this up just to get a little bit of background on Devil Dinosaur because of the new ongoing series with Amy Reeder, I believe, at the helm. Devil Dinosaur and Moon Girl, which looked really cute and really fun, and I picked up the first issue. I haven't read it yet, but just a little background info on Devil Dinosaur, who was created by Jack Kirby, and I believe even the, what are they called? I know it's Moon Boy, but I think like the race of people that he belongs to appeared in Jason Aaron's Amazing Spider-Man and Wolverine. I believe they look similar, so who knows? It could be fun. I haven't read nearly enough Jack Kirby stuff. I've been putting off reading the original Fantastic Four stuff until hopefully the 4th omnibus comes out. But I flicked through it. I kind of flicked through the the Jack Kirby Captain America omnibus, but I haven't finished it. So I really need to get working on my Kirby stuff because he's a legend. And from what I read, his Avengers stuff really doesn't do him justice. And it was kind of eh. Okay, next we got Avengers: The Enemy Within by Kelly Sue DeConnick. This sort of ties together, I believe, the first Captain Marvel run she did, which was, I think, 13-ish issues, and okay, so 17 issues. This collects 13, 14, and 17, along with the event Avengers: The Enemy Within. So this sort of goes between her first run and her second, so I really should probably reread that run. It wasn't as good as her second run, in my opinion. You know, it was interesting, but it's kind of cool to see how it ties together. The trade, I believe, is very hard to find for some reason. Even though it's recent, it's maybe 2013. Let's see. Blah, blah, blah. 2013 trade paperback. So it's weird to say that this is out of print, but I believe it may be. Not available on in-stock trades, cheap graphic novels. I was really lucky to find it. On Barnes & Noble, it was unavailable online, but it was available for pickup in a store not too far from me, so I took advantage of it, and I highly recommend, if you're looking for it, try Barnes & Noble store pickup, because you never know where it is, and if you're a completionist, you're really looking for it, or God forbid you want to scalp it, you never know where you're going to find it. Okay, next, Luther Strode, Volume 1, The Strange Talent of Luther Strode, and Volume 2, The Legend of Luther Strode. My comic book shop was doing a buy two, get one free sale during December, so I grabbed the first one. My friend Riley over at the Omnibus Collector, he really recommended it. You know, to me, I described it as my friends as sort of a mashup between Flex Mentallo meets Kick-Ass. You know, it's got the absolute unrestricted, unapologetic guts and gore and ridiculous stuff of Kick-Ass, and the general basic Flex Mentallo whole, you know, Charles Atlas Smith, you know, the son of the beach kid reads a manual on how to get fit and becomes more powerful than ever imagined, and there's a cult stuff thrown in. It's an interesting story, and I'm really enjoying it. I finished the first one. I'm almost done with the second. I put it down a couple days ago, and I need to pick it up to finish. I think I'm on the last issue of the trade, and I'm really enjoying it so far. And I believe there's a third ongoing right now, which I guess I'm going to wait for trade. But if we're really lucky in the future, I think we're going to get a some sort of all-in-one, which I would really like. And next up, Dr. Voodoo, Avenger of the Supernatural by Rick Remender. Dr. Voodoo, I guess, came out during Bendis' New Avengers run when he replaced Doctor Strange as the Sorcerer Supreme. And I believe Dr. Voodoo now he's on the Avengers, or I think either Hickman brought him back or Remender brought him back, maybe even for Uncanny Avengers. It's escaping me at the moment, but just I wanted a little background information on the character, and I saw the trade at my shop, so I grabbed it. Interesting character, who knows. I really have not read enough Marvel, well, I guess, mystic stuff, so Doctor Strange, I've only read, there's the Mark Waid trade, The Doctor's Out, and Brian K. Vaughan's The Oath, which was really good. And now there's the ongoing Jason Aaron series, so yeah, really excited to read more Doctor Strange stuff, so I'm going to go ahead and assume Dr. Voodoo is similar. Okay, and I believe that is the last trade that I have. Moving on to this, Stray Bullets, the Uber Alice edition by David Lapham. This was a gift from my friend Riley over at the Omnibus Collector when he came to visit before Christmas, so I have him to thank for this. It's a series that my friend Colin over at Super Mr. O'Neill, he raves about it, and really got me interested. I heard a lot. They say this is a very good series, and this collects the entire main chunk of the series into one big paperback. Size-wise, I guess it's comparable to like the Walking Dead compendiums, and $60 cover price for a big-ass paperback, so that looks worth it. Art looks interesting. It's black and white. The only thing I can say, it kind of reminds me of Black Hole, which I have not read. I've only flicked through, but it looks kind of similar. So I really do want to read this. It's just I know it's going to take me some time. So for now, it's just sitting on the pile. Alrighty, that's it for trades. Now moving on to hardcovers. First, I got Mind Management Volume 1 hardcover. I believe this is one of 5 or 6. Can't remember at the moment. Another series raved about by Riley and Colin, and you know, I really just want to take advantage of my comic shop's buy two get one free sale. This big hardcover is only $20, so compared to other hardcovers like Rat Queens, which is $40, I mean, no brainer. And I'm not sure if it's oversized, actually. That's the only thing. It looks oversized, but it may not actually be oversized. Still, that's a good deal for a hardcover like this. And then I got Ragnarok, Volume 1 hardcover by Walt Simonson. Oversized. I didn't get the slipcase, but I have heard a lot about the slipcase. And oh god, why is my TV going on? Okay, that's stupid. I guess sort of more Norse mythology from Simonson, who had a legendary run on Thor. And so yeah, it looks really interesting. You can tell this is a passion project of his, and you know, if you're familiar with and you're a fan of Simonson's art, it's more of the same. So hopefully there are no spoilers on this page, but I cannot attest to that. But still, it looks interesting, and I've heard a lot of good things about it, so why not? Okay, making our way down. Next up, Green Arrow by Jeff Lemire, the deluxe edition. Just came out last week or the week before. I was really excited to hear about this. I always meant to pick up his run in trades because I heard that leading up to it and afterwards were really not that great, and that his run stuck out. I'm a huge Jeff Lemire fan. I absolutely love Sweet Tooth, and The Underwater Welder is one of my all-time favorite comics, so really looking forward to see what he does with the character. This is the most recent in a line of the DC deluxe editions. There was a Swamp Thing by Scott Snyder, and Dial H by China Mieville. This is it without the dust jacket. It looks really nice. Binding is not spectacular. Cool. But, you know, it is a small volume, so you really don't have to worry too much about gutter loss. And otherwise it feels pretty solid. Definitely not up to par with the Marvel hardcovers, but still nice. And, you know, really, when it comes right down to it, as long as the material within is great, then you can overlook almost any kind of defect. Usually. Okay. Now this I just picked up today. Private Eye, the Cloudburst edition, or deluxe edition. Written by Brian K. Vaughan, art by Marcos Martin. This looks amazing. I've heard a lot of great things about it. I guess it was a web series, or a web comic originally by Vaughan. The art is really cool. I believe Martin did art on Daredevil, or the early Daredevil stuff, with Mark Waid. And that's why it looks familiar. Either Mark Waid, it was either Daredevil or She-Hulk. It looks really familiar. Either that or his art style is really similar. Hopefully I'm not showing you anything graphic right now. But yeah, when I heard about it, I was basically sold on. As soon as I heard Brian K. Vaughan, I'm like, okay, I gotta get that. Because I have literally read nothing by Brian K. Vaughan that wasn't spectacular. So, you know, this is creator-owned. This is a pet project of his. So I'm really interested to see where it goes. The only thing is, cover price is $50. For me, that's a little steep. I did buy it at Barnes & Noble, so I only had my, 10% member discount. And, you know, on in-stock trades, you get 40% off. And you get a little better deal there. And, you know, I wouldn't mind paying, $25 for that, but $50 is a little steep. And then the format throws people off. You know, it's about the same size as, what's that, 300 and Holy Terror. You know, it's a sort of widescreen, wide-angle book. So it definitely won't fit on your shelf properly, but it looks like a really nice display. So you can always put it facing like this somewhere. And, yeah, interested. And then, I guess, rounding out the comics, the iZombie Omnibus by Chris Robertson, art by Mike and Laura Allred. I really loved this series in trade, and I was so excited when they finally announced that it was becoming an omnibus. Perfect size for it. I think it's 22 issues or 23 issues. 28 issues. Oh, didn't feel like that much. And I'm really disappointed they didn't call the iZombnibus, but whatever. And, you know, you can tell that this came out because the show is such a success, so to fans of the series and people who really wanted this, you have to thank the show. I haven't watched it yet, but I want to. I heard it's really good. Dust Jacket and the book itself have the same design, so nothing too crazy there. It's not like a matte finish like a Marvel Omnibus. It is similar to, I guess, Animal Man. You know, it's sort of like sleek and shiny finish. Binding's okay. I would compare it to about the same as Orion, which for DC was pretty good, but not great. I did stretch this out a little already, but I'm still pretty careful with it. You can kind of get a little eye space in there, but nothing great. But you don't get too much gutter loss. For the most part, you can open up the book without too many pages flipping back and forth. Or not. But still, I mean, if you're a fan of the series, if you're a fan of the Allred's artwork, then this is a no-brain buy for you because it looks spectacular on the oversized pages. And, I mean, Allred's art just begs to be displayed like this. You know, some iconic scenes. So a little gutter loss, but nothing crazy. But worth it if you're a fan of the series. And yeah, it says right on there, now based on the hit CW show. So this is a direct result of the show being a hit. So we have to thank for the show for this book. Okay. So next, I guess I'm going to go through just some regular books that I've been reading lately. I got some as a gift, so I guess I'll show those. And there's a bunch of history ones, so I'm just trying to think of the best way to organize this. So there are 3 books, I guess, that I got as a direct result of my friend Alex, who gave me those Lumberjanes and Bob's Burgers comics. So for Christmas, along with those comics, she got me The Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum and The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. Wizard of Oz, we've talked about for a while. I haven't actually read it, but I heard it's, a classic. You have to read it. Same goes for Secret Garden, which I was not expecting as a gift, but I'll read it just the same. It looks interesting. This one I'm really excited about. And then she didn't buy this for me, but she recommended it to me heavily. Ray Bradbury's The Martian Chronicles. I still have not found the time to read Fahrenheit 451, which makes me like a horrible literary person, I know. But I will read it, and we were at the bookstore and she really recommended this to me. It's cool fantasy, and as you can see, I got about maybe 50 pages to go, and I'm really enjoying it, really loving it. Great science fiction, but also really great social commentary. It's made up. It's the fictional future. This is written in the 50s or 60s, I think, and it's set in 2005 in the future where humans have begun colonization of Mars. It's a string of short stories that are kind of loosely connected, not totally, but it talks a lot about the human condition and what it would be like if we wound up, settling on Mars, and how not good that would probably be because of who we are. So I'm really enjoying this. I'm really going to do my best to finish this tonight because I want to get it read, and I really do love it. So really cool science fiction with a lot of social commentary. Highly recommended so far. Okay. Next up, Bronx Bound by John Roche. This is sort of, I intern for a newspaper, I write and I take pictures, and a couple weeks ago my editor there told me about a local author. He wanted me to do an interview with the guy. I said there's this book, Bronx Bound, that recently came out, got good reviews, and so I've contacted Mr. Roche. Haven't heard back yet, but I figured in the meantime, it'd be a good idea to probably, read the guy's book, sheer niceness. And it turns out that Mr. Roche not only attended Western Connecticut State University for his master's, his MFA, he now teaches there. And WestCon is my alma mater. It's where I got my undergrad in creative writing, and it's one of the top schools I'm looking at to go for my MFA. If I've been toying with the idea of going back to school in the fall for my master's in writing, so really excited I finally finished this. I read it in, I think, 3 days. A really cool crime noir story set in the 80s. Interesting. I liked it. But mostly I'll admit I really kind of want to talk to Mr. Roche to get some feedback on the writing program there. Because it's cool. He thanks them directly in the acknowledgments. And it's not independently published, but it is an independent publisher. It's a small publisher. But you can find it on Barnes & Noble and Amazon, stuff like that. I guess it's like printed to order, which is really cool because mine has a thing on there and it says manufactured on December 20th, 2015. So I thought that was really cool. A Confederacy of Dunces by John Kennedy Toole. I just kind of grabbed this on a blind buy. I heard it's one of the funniest things out there, and apparently it's really good, so just wanted to give it a shot. Blind buy. Food books. Recently I finished Kitchen Confidential by Anthony Bourdain, and I fell in love. I'm a big fan of Bourdain, his writing and his shows, so I kind of wanted to do some other stuff. And you can't talk about food without talking about Jim Gaffigan's Food, A Love Story. Sort of a sequel to Dad is Fat, but I guess more based on his stand-up. And I'm a huge Jim Gaffigan fan. I love the guy. I love everything he's ever done. So I have Dad is Fat in paperback, so I wanted to wait for this in paperback, and finally decided it was high time that I get it, because, I know I'm going to enjoy it. It's just always funny. Down and Out in Paris and London by George Orwell. Part fiction, part autobiographical account of Orwell's time in London and Paris, working in kitchens, going on the street. Heavily recommended by a lot of food writers, Bourdain included, and I remember kind of liking 1984 in school. I haven't read Animal Farm, but I really just kind of wanted to get an idea of, the old style of kitchens and rough living. A Flash in the Pan by David Bloom. Not in Kitchen Confidential, but in his other book, I think it's called The Nasty Bits. Bourdain really recommends this. This is an older printing. I think it's the first printing in 1990-something or 2000-something. Really early, but it's based on Bloom's experience in a failing restaurant, and just seemed really interesting. As someone whose family owns a pizzeria, as much as I hate the business, and I definitely don't want to be there for the rest of my life, you get kind of a morbid curiosity about it, and you want to learn more, just because it is the trade. So, and finally, food-related, The Bobby Gold Stories by Anthony Bourdain. This is fiction, so it's not a real-life account, as Kitchen Confidential was, or The Nasty Bits, or Medium Raw. This is fiction. I was torn between getting The Bobby Gold Stories and Bone in the Throat, which is Bourdain's, I think, most popular fiction set. But just based on the premise, this sounded like a lot of fun. I saw it on Barnes & Noble, so I just grabbed it. It was $10. And I'm really interested in it. I haven't read anything fiction by Bourdain, and I'm really looking forward to it. So this whole next section, my last section for books, is... they're all history books in some way or another, so let's see where it all started. The Biography of Alexander Hamilton by Ron Chernow. And as you can see there, the basis of the hit musical Hamilton, which in the past, let's say, month or two, I have become obsessed and enamored with. I haven't actually seen the show yet. I've been listening to the soundtrack nonstop. I follow Lin-Manuel Miranda, the writer, director, actor, star, whatever you want to call him. Follow him on Twitter obsessively. I'm a Facebook fan. I absolutely love this show. And for Christmas I got tickets in August, and I'm incredibly excited, but, as soon as I started listening to the music, I picked up the books. So now there's a newer version of this with the nice Hamilton logo there. They came out with it in a hardcover again. It is daunting, there are a lot of endnotes and references. So the actual biography is 729 pages, and, that's nothing to sneeze at when it's not a rip-roaring comedy or a huge adventure story like, The Goldfinch or whatever. But I think I could do it, and because I love the music so much, I've grown to know Hamilton's story, and I'm really looking forward to reading that. So that book really kind of led to me buying most of these other books. Over the summer I did also read 1776 by David McCullough, and so I guess the two of those books together really caused me to go crazy with history. So this next stack of books is a lot of history-based stuff, so seems a little dry, but now I'm really looking forward to it. I'm becoming really interested in it. This is actually a play. This is Cato. It's a tragedy in 5 acts, written by Joseph Addison in the early 1700s. The story behind this is I was reading 1776, and it's stated a couple times that this was George Washington's favorite play. He saw it shortly before the Revolutionary War, I believe, and they're saying, it really kind of it gave him inspiration, it gave him ideas for the Revolution, and he even had it performed for his troops at Valley Forge. So I really just it's kind of a lost play It's really not. I don't think it's really performed nowadays too often. I don't think too many people have heard of it. It's Addison's real major play, but it was so long ago, so stuff like that tends to fade into history. And I was just kind of wanted to get an idea of what it could have shown Washington, what he saw in it. So I tracked down a copy of that. I'm really excited. All right, this I'm gonna fully admit I might not read this just because of what it is. This is the collected edition of the Federalist, also known as the Federalist Papers, originally written by Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, and John Jay. Documents written shortly after the Constitution was first written to defend it and garner support for it in the public eye. And it is, a lot of people say there is really beautiful language in this. It's great writing. It's some of the finest American writing, earliest historical writing. But, as much as I like it, it's written, during the 1780s and 90s, so you have an idea what the language is going to be like. So this is going to be a bit of a struggle for me to get through. Even though it's shorter than the Hamilton biography, it's a lot of fancy language, so that's going to probably be the longest for me to get through. John Adams by David McCullough. Just sort of a side note, 1776, the book, which McCullough has become very famous for, really spun out of this. I believe this was written first, and then 1776, the book, does not focus on, the Declaration of Independence, all the stuff going on in Philadelphia. That focuses on mostly, Washington's war of the battles in Boston, New York City, New Jersey, stuff like that. Whereas the 76 story that we know, from the movie or whatever, mostly takes place during this. And this is also the basis of the John Adams miniseries that was on HBO with Paul Giamatti. So this is sort of the basis for that. And just an interesting look at the second president. Kind of forgotten by a lot of people today, and seemingly a really interesting person. They say this is some of McCullough's best work. Did win the Pulitzer Prize, which 1776 did not. So, I did enjoy 1776, so really looking forward to this. Down the road, I'm also looking to get Mornings on Horseback, which is his Theodore Roosevelt biography, and Truman, which is absolutely massive, but I'm a fan of Truman, so I want to read that too. This is the Quartet, orchestrating the Second American Revolution, 1783 to 1789. You have George Washington, James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, and John Jay. Again, spinning out of my Hamilton fantasy. That's not a word. Just to look at some of the more founding fathers, especially, Hamilton, Jay, and Madison are really kind of overlooked in history. Or maybe not Hamilton now, but a lot of people probably still don't know who John Jay or James Madison were, even though Madison was president and the writer of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. I'm a lot of these books I'm buying are I'm looking to read Hamilton biography first, and then these are sort of supplemental to get more depth information, although from what I've heard, the biography does have a ton of that information readily available, just different sources. War of Two, Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr and the Duel That Stunned the Nation. Another in-depth Hamilton book focusing on the rivalry between Hamilton and Burr, which led up to the duel where Burr killed Hamilton. And interesting note is that the author, John Cedric, is related to someone who was very close friends with Hamilton back then, and actually, I believe during the beginning of the book, the author gets to read a letter that Hamilton wrote to his ancestor, and it's believed to be the last letter that Hamilton ever wrote right before the duel, so that's pretty interesting. So the author has a little bit of personal stake in here, so I just thought that was really interesting. Finally, Lafayette in the Somewhat United States by Sarah Vowell. Vowell is a historian, but she's also a comedian. I'm a big fan of this show. It's not really a show, it's not really a series. It's called Assume the Position with Robert Wuhl. Right now there are 2 episodes. They all came out. The first one I think came out in 2005 or 6, and the second one was in 2007 or 8. And they're really short, half hour, 45-minute shows about American history and world history, and about stories and myths that kind of go on throughout our history. And Val actually appeared, I think, in the second one. Or no, she was in the first one as sort of a contributing historian and comedian. And I honestly had no idea it was her until I looked at the back page and saw her picture there. which is pretty cool because on that show she kind of appeared in like a talking head way, and she was really funny. And this is a historical book, but it is kind of scattered throughout with humor, and I'm really looking forward to this. This is a brand new book, just came out a couple weeks ago. So, yeah, Lafayette's a pretty interesting character, and if you're from the Northeast around here, he's really heralded as a hero. You know, he's not really forgotten in United States history, but he is a big part of American history in the Revolution, and, you know, the United States really owes him a debt of gratitude, him and the entire nation of France, and it's cool to see that recognized in the book, you know, instead of it being, you know, George Washington and Paul Revere and John Hancock, sure. You know, those three white dudes. I mean, Lafayette was white, but at least he was French. So yeah, wow. I think that's it on my reading pile right now. Like I said, I'm currently reading The Martian Chronicles by Bradbury. After that, I'm not sure. I might read Dad is Fat just to boost up some quotes in the queue. And after that, I'm really going to try to tackle the Hamilton biography because I want to get that read before I see the show. And then after I read that, I can tackle all the other history books, which I really want to do. In the meantime, I'm going to still try to read as many comics as I can. Not picking up too many single issues. I think what I'm going to do is, of all the new series going on, I'm going to grab up to issue 6 or wherever the first trade ends, and then see how I like it, and based on that, I'll start picking up trades, you know, slowly down the line. But like I said, right now I literally have no room left on my shelves, and my omnibus shelf is filling up very quickly too. I basically only have room for, I'm going to go ahead and say 4 or 5 right now, so when it comes to that, I'll deal with it, but for right now I really need to cut down on them, as much as it pains me to do so. But who knows what the future holds. Maybe I'll figure out a way to fit some other bookshelves in here or something. Or who knows, maybe one day I'll actually move out of my house. I don't think so. But yeah, thank you for sticking around watching my video. Even though it's probably really long at this point. I haven't edited it yet, obviously. And hopefully the sound works this time. Hopefully you love seeing my, you know, beautiful face in HD. I don't. So yeah, thank you for sticking around. Check out the blog, myprivatelibrary.tumblr.com. There's a link to my YouTube, which is pointless because you're on my YouTube right now. There's also a link to my Goodreads if you'd like to follow me there. I love updating that. So yeah, stick around. Hopefully this channel will start going place somewhere. Bye.